Amber has a stylized aesthetic. To explain it in a very simple way, it is something that is halfway between the strictly cartoon and the realistic. That is, it does not belong to either of the two fields as such. It can lead to something more cartoon or something more realistic, but it is between those two worlds. The reason why we use this aesthetic is because it allows us to give greater expressiveness to what we want to convey in terms of colors, shapes, without falling into the strictly cartoon or belonging to another world or another aesthetic that is not what we are looking for.
Firstly, I usually think about the general environment, the biome where it will be found, what character the specific faction has, the characteristics, a bit how you want to present it to the viewer. Basically, from there, I usually use many references, and I usually study a lot in that regard. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to follow the path of this artist, this photographer, or this video game to inspire me as a reference.
The ideas arise in the need to create the character. You first think about what you're going to do before the creature has been created. For example, creature, humanoid, or dragon, depending on what they're going to do, you look for features. For example, if we want them to shoot, but a normal archer would not stand out much, we will make a huge bow, or a trapper carrying weapons that are very characteristic of that troop. Then, the visual design based on the characteristics of the creature, bug, etc.
The process is varied. It does not always have to be the same. It depends a little on how clear things are in order to approach the work. If things are clear enough, you don't have to do a very long sketching phase. Just make a couple of sketches and explore those ideas. Then you go for the rendering process, color search, and so on.
In this case, in the ALDERLAND concept, I wanted to give the feeling that a monster, the dragon in this case, was a key element in the illustration and make it look intimidating. So I placed the camera low enough to give a feeling of power. Then, when it comes to planning a whole army, upset people running to defend ALDERLAND, in my case, I usually use references from Asian artists, who usually have very large compositions, very elaborate, and with a lot of elements that work very well for this type of illustrations.
The first thing the 3D department gives me is the low poly 3D model. I can also see the high poly to see the final result I have to achieve. They also provide me with all the maps I need, such as the ambient occlusion and the normal map. I put all that together and I can start painting it. Then I get in touch with the 2D department. First I show them a draft version so they can give me feedback, check if I am getting closer to the color range, and then start to add the details little by little and stay in contact every day with my 2D colleagues. They tell me where I am failing and where I am succeeding, and in the end, everything is perfect.
Usually, what the 3D department asks us for are all the views. First, a 3/4 of the character, with the pose. a 3/4 of the back also to see it from the front and behind, and apart from that, we usually ask for all the views of the character. The front, the back, the profile, and even some occasions, if it is very complex, a top view. Besides, if they have a tool or a very complex weapon, a kind of call-out is usually made, a kind of zoom to the design of the weapon or what is not clear at first glance. It is put aside, it is detailed well, and that helps them to make the views of the weapons and more complex stuff.
The one that I have found most comfortable has been the ball. For the concept in general, I quite like the approach, and I have been able to give it an aesthetic similar to the art of League of Legends, which is the one I consume the most. It is an art that sells very well, it works very well, and I personally like it a lot.
One of the things I felt more comfortable with has been a part of the Baal faction, the demons of this world. I like them because they are a bit strange creatures, a bit alienish even. They have something extraterrestrial being, but being very terrestrial. In fact, I think that the one I liked the most to design has been the melee unit. Another thing I really enjoyed was designing the dragon. One of the dragons we have in Amber. I really liked that kind of creature. I have really enjoyed the sketch phase, the color exploration phase, and the final rendering. It has been very fun in general.
Ada was very difficult at first. It was the first one I had to do, and I had to adapt to the new style that Amber had. At the beginning, it was a little more difficult, but in the end, with the help of the 2D ones, they helped me a lot to get adjusted to the style, and I managed to move forward. Basically, I try to focus above all on the concept that they give me, and try to be as faithful as possible. I look for many references. For example, if I have to paint a belt, I look for the texture of what hand-painted leather would be like, and many references to adjust to the concept that they give me.
The first unit I draw was the most complicated for me, because it was like, you have the program here, you don't know how to use it, you have a model that is, at first, relatively complex, which was the creature of abominations. The one in which I spent most time, I was like a week working on it. It was a puzzle for me, but in the end, I really liked the result, and I think the others also liked it a lot. It was a really great job.
The Barbaya was difficult for me. I saw them more Asian style. I wanted to give them a touch of aesthetics, a bit of Ghibli from the Ghibli studio. It was quite a different concept to face, and it was a bit more work for me. And I had to study a lot, but I really liked it.